Hello, it's 3 p.m. Eastern, and this is Live at Epiphan. And today we are live from the Metaverse. High five,
Yeah, high
Marta.
five. Hello. We've been experimenting with this virtual workspace. We've learned a lot, and we're going to share all of that with you right now. But first, Dan,
Woohoo!
why don't we go back to the real verse from this metaverse?
Okay, let's do it.
Whoa.
Welcome back to
Whoa.
reality.
Oh,
Hello.
welcome back, Dan. That was pretty trippy.
Yeah, it's weird seeing you in flat two dimensions right now instead of being
I
able to
know.
see you in front of me.
You were just right here, and we were just high-fiving.
Yeah. Why don't we welcome everyone to the show? Welcome to the reality version of Live at Epiphan. We're here now, and we'll say hi. Anyone in chat, please don't hesitate to say hello. And we're glad to have you all here today. And it's a really special episode for us because we've been doing a lot of experimenting lately. Marta, why don't you tell everyone what we've been up to?
Yeah, we're really excited. This is one of those fun episodes that we really like doing. As virtual Marta just said, we're going to go into how we set this up, how we were able to capture the video from all those angles. We're going to go into, what we think about it, how it felt to be inside the VR, what it felt like to be the participants who were just joining, like Cameron and Marcos, as you will find out soon, did. We're just going to share our impressions of the experience, and we'll let you know whether this is something worth your while, whether you should be paying attention to this new trend.
Why don't we start by we've got a number of clips that we're going to share to kind of show what we did and our experience. Why don't we start by playing our next clip, Cameron, whenever you are.
Okay. Thank you all for coming today. We're going to be talking about the live show. So Dan and I have two Oculus Quests too, and we thought it would be a fun idea to do a live show with it. So let's brainstorm some ideas of what we can do with this virtual life space.
Can you do jumping jacks?
Oh my God, I don't have any legs.
Oh no!
I don't have any
Marta's got
legs
no-
either.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my
What's going on
God.
here?
Oh my God. Abort meeting. Abort meeting.
This is not good. I have hands at least.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we try a handshake? Can we reach?
Okay. Let's.
Not quite. We can bleep that out.
Okay. Let's quickly go over how we're actually doing this today. So we have Cameron and Marcos joining as they would any regular Zoom meeting. So they had a link to join this meeting, and they're just joining via webcam. And on top of that, there's this whole geography layer because Dan and Cameron are in Ottawa right now. I'm in California, and Marcos is in Brazil. He's about 10,000 kilometers away from us, which I think is mind blowing. And I think it's just great that we can all have a meeting like this. So the way we're capturing my view right now, what I'm seeing out of my Oculus, is through Chromecast. I'm casting whatever I'm seeing onto a laptop and then capturing that using a Pearl that I have set up.
Okay.
Dan and I also have some cameras set up that are capturing us in VR. You guys are gonna see, you can see that right now. And yeah, it's just weird. I bet to this camera, we're acting very strange right now.
So there you go. Nice little clip of some of our first impressions of hosting a meeting. Marta, why don't you explain kind of what we did? What was the setup here and what happened?
Yeah, so just to give our viewers an introduction into what was going on there, we basically spent the whole day working in VR. So Dan and I had our wonderful Oculus Quest 2 headsets, and we would invite our colleagues into our kind of virtual meeting space. So Dan and I would be virtual, and then all the other participants would join as they would a regular video call through their browser. We would just share a link. And even the way we planned this meeting was in VR. You just saw a little clip of that. And so why don't we show? Oh yeah, so why don't we show the map of these particular participants? So in this particular clip that you just saw, we had Cameron, we had Marcos, Dan, and myself, and we were all just miles away from each other. I just thought that was so cool. I know it doesn't really pertain to VR, but I thought just having this 18,000-kilometer triangle between us was amazing. Dan and I were in VR, Cameron and Marcos were just joining regularly, and I thought that like mix of everything is just something new, something I've never experienced, and I just really enjoyed that. Dan, I don't know how you felt about that.
Yeah, we're definitely living in the future, beyond the bounds of time and space. It was definitely a meta experience. I can see why the term metaverse is being used, because it's kind of a multimedia environment in a lot of ways, and it kind of tricks your brain also being in there when you're seeing a combination of like, Marta seeing you in 3 dimensions right in front of me, and then seeing colleagues on the monitor in a regular video call inside VR. It was trippy for sure. Like it was different,
trippy.
but the brain adjusted to it very quickly. I don't know if that's the same kind of experience you had as well.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt, and it was something from the future, but yet it was right here. It was tangible. Very, very interesting. And our viewers might have noticed that we had a few camera angles. And the way we captured that was, so we had 4 sources going in, basically. One source was my camera that I'm basically using right now.
And we have a diagram here we can share as well.
Yeah, oh, that's right. We have a diagram that we can show. So my camera and also my laptop were going into my Pearl Mini. I was casting directly from my Oculus to the laptop. And then Cameron was receiving that on his Pearl via SRT streams. And then Dan was doing the same, but he only had the camera source. And then Cameron was also capturing whatever he was seeing in the video meeting. As you can see, the small image there, the video meeting for him looked like any regular like Zoom meeting in the browser. So he was capturing that too via the Pearl. And then he mixed those things together to show you guys the video that you just saw. Now, could we have streamed this live right now if you wanted to? Yes. We could have just had all the same sources hooked up to Pearl, and we could have streamed that and had our producer switch between those views. So it's definitely possible to have that experience as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big question for folks is like, can you stream into the metaverse and can you stream out of the metaverse? The short answer is yes, it's possible. It's possible with the headset, very easy actually to send a source out to, like you said, your laptop, and then whatever you do with it from there, capture it, record it, stream it.
Mm-hmm. I know that some apps have some restrictions, so they wouldn't let you cast, like Chromecast to another device, because they don't. I guess they don't want they don't want that content shared. So it depends on the app, but it's definitely possible.
I think we have another clip where we start to share some of our feelings about the experience with our colleagues. Why don't we cue that up right now and we can take a look at that and see what we think.
Yeah, let's do it.
The sense of presence that I'm getting here, especially with you, Marta, is pretty cool. I mean, we're all used to doing Zoom calls, but like now I can see, I get a sense of like real eye contact with you. Like I'm actually looking you right in the eye, which is not something that I always get that sense in a Zoom call. But I can still see, like I've got kind of like a big, I'd say like a 50-inch TV over here. I can see Cameron smirking right now. You can see Marcos hanging out in Brazil. Like I've still got my Zoom call. I've still got my, real-time communication with them as well. But now I get to feel like I have a sense of presence with you, which is pretty awesome.
What is it like for you guys on the regular call side?
I never realized that Dan had such piercingly blue eyes before seeing his avatar.
How about you, Marcos? What's your take on this? Would you be willing to join meetings where perhaps the person running the meeting or several of the participants are in a virtual space while you're in, real world?
I kind of feel like after a while, this might go away, like the novelty of it might vanish, because I much rather see you both in person through a webcam than, because I'm not in that uh, virtual environment. It kind of feels odd. Like it's hard to take this seriously, maybe.
Mm.
Okay.
Like,
Hmm.
yeah, but it's very funny. That's for sure.
We've had some laughs for sure. Well,
But
this is just a beta version, and just using this app, you can tell that a lot of the features they're still working on. I was going to say that it actually took us quite a bit of time to set this up today, just figuring out the links and making sure that
Yeah,
people have their headsets on and everything. There's a lot. There's a barrier to entry there in
I would
terms of.
agree. I would agree. Like when we were trying to figure this out the first time, one of the struggles we had is actually the Facebook part of it, right? Because you do require, at least right now, you do require a Facebook account to get into this virtual environment. And, you know, with with this being like a professional call and a work call, I don't necessarily want to be using and leveraging my personal Facebook account. So I do have, like you, Marta, a Facebook account attached to my Epiphan email. But there was some difficulty kind of figuring out how to get into the workspace together, given that we both have multiple Facebook accounts, and making sure that we paired the correct account with the correct meeting, and even just like syncing our Google Calendar to Facebook and the workroom. It was a bit of a struggle, I'll be honest, until we
It
figured it
was.
out.
It was, yeah. But we
So
we figured it out. Took a
yeah,
while.
like I could see once you're comfortable with the process of just like getting the headset on and getting into the environment, it would be a lot smoother. But at least right now, there are definitely some barriers, and there's it's not as quick and easy to get in here as I would have liked.
Okay, so there you go. Some of our first impressions being in a meeting in VR. Marta, any thoughts to share?
Yeah, it was really nice to get those raw impressions from Cameron and Marcos for me, because I was on this side, they were on that side. So I thought it was really interesting that, like, Marcos said that it looked a little bit cartoonish. I thought that was really honest. And speaking of cartoons, I had a flashback to our Adobe Animator episode when Cameron and George Herbert became animated characters. I thought it was kind of similar. And I remember, I think it was George who mentioned this trend for streamers who have an avatar, a 2D avatar that streams from their name, right? And back then I thought, that's kind of a weird concept. Why don't you want to show your real face and then you instead use a character? And I thought, so then it was kind of weird to me, but now I felt so empowered hiding behind this VR character. Maybe not hiding, but just having this avatar that talks for me. And I don't have to think about my appearance. I don't have to think about, like, is my hair out of place or is my setup good enough? Because I know that everything is just very polished in Horizon Workrooms, which is what we used. And so there was a certain sense of relief when I was talking to you, Dan, about my appearance and about my presentation, which
Yeah.
I didn't expect.
It was better than I thought it would be, for sure. Like, okay, let's straight up, like, the avatar creation is kind of limited. Like, you have, like, 5 to 10 beards to pick from. You have, like, 20 shirts to pick from. You have, some basic. There's a lot of hairdos, actually. They really went big on, like, the types of hairstyle you could have. And of course, there's skin tones and, face shapes and noses and everything else. If you're familiar with creating your avatar in video games, it's not as extensive as you might be familiar with in, like, Skyrim or something like that. That said, the ability to emote with the character and the tracking was actually way better than I thought it was. Like, I was not expecting hand tracking to be as, one-to-one as it really was. Like, I could use my fingers, I could use my hands to gesture, and when I moved my body around, the avatar's body moved, rotating chair, all of that. So it was much more impressive in that regard than I was expecting, and I'm interested to see how that technology will continue as the headsets continue to evolve as well. But I do think that like I kind of agree with Marcos in that like the presentation of the avatars is the style is a little bit cartoony. I'm looking forward to when it becomes more photorealistic, maybe. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Marta.
You were just talking about the equipment, and I think it's actually still a barrier to entry for many people. I think it's kind of a weird dynamic having some people in VR and having some people just be on video. I think that creates a little bit of like this weird conflict, I guess, that we haven't explored yet because it's so new. Maybe if everyone was in VR, the experience would be equally immersive for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree to that. Like, if we would have had Cameron and Marcos with headsets as well, I think, you know, it would have been really fun dynamic to have all four of us there. And like, I'm sure we would have been able to, you know, have a lot more, you know, fun interaction in that way. Yeah, there is kind of like a separation between the people who are participating in VR and the people who are participating by video only. So yeah, that's a limiting factor. Is like if you have, let's say, a team and you want to do a creative meeting in VR and you have one team member who doesn't have a headset, that person is going to feel left out, I think.
Left out, exactly. Yeah. I totally agree with you. And we would like to post this question to our viewers in chat as well. What do you think about this? Would you ever try a meeting in VR, do you think? It's really, I know it's really hard to say without actually having tried it, but let us know what you think about this. Is this interesting to you? We're really curious to know.
So while we're watching chat, and I see Kim there, it's great to see you, Kim. Why don't we have another clip prepared where we, I think, show off some of the features in the Horizon Workroom, in the Facebook Metaverse Workroom. The lingo is getting difficult. Meta, Facebook. Like,
let's roll Oculus, the clip.
Roll clip.
One thing that I'm noticing right now, Dan, is you're using your hands to talk, and I actually really like that. Like I kind of get your message, your inflection a bit better. So I'm just really enjoying that.
I can
for sure.
I can like, you know, I can do whatever I want with my hands, and it's like my whole body is being tracked. Like even if I bend around here or I, you know, turn my chair, you know, it seems like my avatar is adapting in real time, which I was not fully expecting the gestures to be that realistic. Like I can, you know, I can do like a peace sign. I could do other more obscene gestures if I wanted to. I'm sure if I got upset.
And when we switch the layout of the room, let me just show you that real quick. So when we switch to, let's say, a conversation layout, so you're going to see us in a different spot right now. Whoa. So hey. Dan, when you talk, I'm convinced 100% that he's right there.
Yeah.
He was just there for me, in front of me, but now he's right here. I can high five him.
Yeah, like I do feel way closer here. Can we try a handshake? Let's see what that's like. Oh,
it's like Casper weirdness. It's very weird. It's very weird, but it's also very convincing. Like I actually feel that the hand is right there. So from there, why don't we highlight a few features of this room? So you can put your own logo over here on the wall. You can have your own posters. So we have some pearl things over there in the corners. There's also a whiteboard feature. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and start sharing it's just automatically up there. So one thing you can do with the whiteboard is I can actually draw on the whiteboard from my seat. I don't have to go anywhere. So it's just asking me to move my computer right now, which is what I'm doing. Here we go. Here we go. Hopefully not knocking anything down. And so here I'm just setting up a space that I can draw on my desk on the whiteboard. Here we go. Start drawing. Okay, so just as an example.
Oh, cool.
You guys see that?
Hello.
That's nice.
Yes.
Hello. Okay. Is that visible for you guys over there? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I can actually also go to the whiteboard. So I'm going to try doing that right now. Go to the whiteboard. All right, it's actually right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
This
going
is
to,
now more weird for me.
yeah,
Just because
just
like the
upload it
no
here.
legs thing in here, honestly, I don't know why they have that, because the no legs thing is just, it feels weird seeing you standing in a standing position over here with no legs
Yeah, yeah,
or no
for sure.
lower half.
Also,
So,
like the desk and the chairs also don't have legs, so maybe it's a limitation, I guess. I don't know.
well, it's hard to track. The reason for that is because it's hard to track your legs with the Oculus. The Oculus Quest has cameras. I think it has 4 cameras kind of all around this frame. So it's easy, it's easier for it to track your body, but then it gets tough with legs.
Okay, we're back. I think that kind of showed off some of our experiences of like some of the features and functionality in Horizon Workroom. Marta, out of some of the features, what kind of stood out to you as really great features or not so great features?
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool features. You can still kind of feel that Workrooms is a beta app. Some things are a little glitchy, but there are still a lot of really cool features to play with. For example, you guys noticed that we customized the room. We had the Epiphan logo. We had some Pearl posters. You could change the layout of the table uh, depending on what type of meeting you're doing. You could also have your screen in front of you. So basically, it's kind of like a remote desktop feature where I'm casting my computer screen
Yeah.
into the metaverse,
Can we
into
talk
the
about
meeting
that?
space.
Can we talk about that a little more? Because I think that's like a super key feature. And you in the clip you might have seen, but you actually have your computer in the VR space. So to do that, you actually install an app on your laptop or desktop computer, and then your laptop and desktop is sort of cast into the virtual space. And I think we even saw, Marta, like your keyboard of your laptop, like you
Exactly.
could actually see it projected onto the virtual desk, where there's almost like a camera pass through, where in my case I could see my real world physical keyboard and mouse. And like I was impressed actually how easy it was to use my real world computer in the virtual space. And it was a nice big screen. I could crisply see text. I could open my web browser tabs. I could navigate all the normal things I do on my computer. I could still access while I'm in there, right?
Yeah, working with text was actually pretty easy in there. We'll go into that a little bit more when we have our final segment, where I actually spent the whole day, not the whole day, a few hours working in the VR space. So doing things with text is actually really nice. And I think it's kind of surprising that having this headset on, you can see so clearly. So I thought that was a really cool feature. There's still some glitching again because it's a beta app. Sometimes the keyboard would like move weirdly or disappear completely. But I thought it was a really nice feature that you were able to track your keyboard and actually work on it in VR.
Yeah.
You could also you can cast your screen onto the blackboard that you guys saw. So it's really hard to see for participants who are on the video call. But for them, I think the solution is they have that screen share as a separate source, so they can pull it up to be able to see it better.
Yeah. Again, it's like the disparity between the people who are present in the virtual space versus those who are joining by video only. The whiteboard itself,
The
what was your impressions with it? Myself, I kind of found it a little lacking. Would you agree?
We tried to pull up images on there and we tried to annotate over those images, and that was just a struggle. We couldn't figure out how to do that. We were going through all the notions, but in the end we just couldn't get the image up there. So that's definitely something to work on.
Yeah.
But we did something fun. We played Pictionary with Cameron and Marcos. So Dan and I went up to the blackboard and we had a series of words that we had to draw, and then Cameron and Marcos would guess those words. So that was kind of a fun team building activity.
Yeah, that was cool. I was like, the whiteboard was kind of something I was sort of looking forward to, because that's something that we don't really have in a normal video conference. I mean, you can do it, but that's something that like the in-person meeting we've kind of lost, is like the, hey, go up to the whiteboard and just sketch and like connect ideas.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah, I thought that was supposed to be a really important feature in this world, you would think. So then being able to collaborate on that blackboard, I would think would be really, really important. So I thought that was kind of a letdown that we weren't able to do that.
Yeah,
I
there's
totally
a lot
agree
of
with you.
there's a lot of room for improvement there, just even in terms of like the markers you have. And you know, if you could just like kind of, I'm thinking of, you know, some of the futuristic films we've seen where people are just moving images around, free flowing thoughts and ideas and connecting dots and this kind of thing. There's a lot of potential for what you could accomplish in virtual reality with that. And like, but it kind of felt like we're using a chalkboard from 20 years ago, you know, like,
Exactly.
So I'd like to see more innovation there in terms of like what the whiteboarding capabilities are in a virtual space.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, you know, Zoom very recently announced that they're working on a tighter integration with Workrooms. So I think we can expect to see something along those lines next year between Zoom and Workrooms and VR in general. So they're definitely looking at that in that direction.
Yeah, definitely. That's another point that you raise, is just like right now there's no integrations, right? So I'd love for there to be some kind of integration with Zoom, integration with Teams, integration with, we use Miro for a lot of our whiteboarding. If I could bring my Miro whiteboard into the virtual space, that would be very powerful. So I think if they can start to create those integrations, the space becomes much more powerful. For sure.
And we have that video up there. I don't know, Dan, if you can go forward just a little bit in that video, because they do demonstrate what they're gonna achieve. Well, this is basically what we did. So this is what they have right now. I think they had a segment about working on the whiteboard together. And you're right. If apps like Miro add integrations with VR, I think that would be a really powerful tool for everyone, because you're no longer tied to your computer screen. You can collaborate with other people in real time on a board, which I think, which I think would be really, really powerful.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, a little bit of a preview of
a
Zoom
bit of a preview.
Whiteboard in VR. Okay. Okay.
Little flow charts there, images.
Yeah, I mean, it still looks pretty rudimentary to me, but I think that there's definitely some potential here. We have another clip that I want to roll, and it's just kind of a behind the scenes time lapse. And I think this could be cool to take a look at. So why don't we cue that up? But just to kind of preface this, Marta, you actually spent the better part of a day, a full day, actually trying to like work and do your job while in VR. And you took several meetings and you were working on several projects simultaneously, and it was, I think, an interesting experience for you. So why don't we share a bit of that, and we can sort of summarize what your experience was like.
That video actually doesn't have sound. I'm wondering if we could just roll it and talk over it. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Okay, so yeah, we can roll the clip, and we'll just I'll talk a little bit about what's happening there. So yeah, basically for about 3 or 4 hours, I was wearing the headset. You will see me taking it off every once in a while because it's just too heavy. I had a few Zoom meetings in VR, so I was casting my screen onto my VR screen, so that way I could see everything that was happening in Zoom. So basically, I was running Zoom on the computer in the VR space. And at first, my colleagues were obviously very surprised. They were making fun of me a little bit because I looked like a dork. But the meetings actually went much more smoothly than I thought. And I think, Dan, you and I had a meeting where we invited Lisa and George to be the video participants.
Yeah, and we were reviewing some creative work. Yeah.
Yeah, that meeting went pretty well too. Speaking of creative work, I mentioned that working with words was fine, so typing things out. that was totally fine. But working in Photoshop was impossible just because there's a bit of a lag. The colors are not quite there. The focus in these glasses, you kind of have to make sure that the headset is in the exact right spot on your head in order for the focus to be perfect. So when I had to work on tasks that pertained to imagery or using Photoshop, I had to take my headset off just because it was a huge strain on my eyes. Right.
So there's definitely some pros and cons. Why don't we try to summarize what some of them are? What are the big pros? What are your sort of top three, pros of working in VR?
Mm-hmm. So something that I really liked was that the VR space was really bright. And Cameron, if we could roll that clip. Yes, that one. The space where you work individually is not the same as the meeting space. And your individual working space is this very bright, kind of pinkish, bluish, infinite horizon space with some plants and a very clear desk. And that declutter was really good for me. Like, it felt really nice to work in that space. I thought that was a pro. Again, working with text was actually really nice. I didn't get really dizzy. My eyes didn't get too tired when I was working with text. And also inviting people to join you in a workroom as a video participant wasn't that difficult. It was just a link. It was just a link like you would invite a person to any other video call. And people joined quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And
do I have a clip as well? Do we have a clip from my experience? I can talk about it a bit. Oh, I think this is my view in a meeting. This was, again, a meeting where we were reviewing some creative work. For some reason, George's camera wasn't coming in. So that was I'd say a little bit of a disadvantage. But in terms of the space and I'd say for a creative meeting where you're reviewing stuff, it actually worked pretty well. I could really see what we were reviewing. It was nice and big and clear. I could hear everyone clearly. I could really get a sense of your body language, Marta, even more so than Lisa and George who were on the video call. So that was all great. I'd say where there was a bit of a shortcoming was, that for whatever reason, George's camera wasn't coming in properly. I would kind of second with you is I wouldn't want to be, for instance, using Adobe Premiere and editing a video in here, right? But it is kind of nice to kind of get the serenity of going into another space. Actually, the day we did this meeting, there was some construction happening on my street. So right outside my window, there was a big crane and they're pouring the foundation of a building, a house across the street from me. And it was a busy, noisy day. And when I went into the VR space, I could actually focus a little easier, if I'm being perfectly honest, which was kind of nice. It shut off everything else around me. So if you had kids in the background or if you had other things happening around you, you can kind of shut that off. When I came back out of the VR space, I was it was freezing rain outside and construction and messiness, and I was I definitely felt it's kind of peaceful in there while I was in there. I don't know if I could stay in there for longer than maybe an hour though, realistically, because I think you mentioned the headset does add some weight on your face. There's kind of you kind of feel like you're getting a little bit of a line around your eyes. So what I could see maybe doing is if you had a creative team with 4 or 5 people, everyone had a headset, you could go in there, you could have some kind of team building collaboration, you could review work, you could, have a fun experience together. Maybe you play a game in there, and kind of give yourself the chance to feel the sense of presence with your colleagues who maybe you typically only see over a video call. I think that could be a realistic use case, in the short term. In the long term, as some of the features improve and some of the functionalities improve, I could see there being, more capabilities to want to spend longer in there. But as it stands right now, I don't think I would spend an entire day working in VR voluntarily. But maybe if I needed a break from my environment, I would pop in there and be able to actually focus a little better or get a change of scenery if I needed it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Dan. So the verdict for this thing for me is yes, it's doable if this wasn't as heavy. So it was really heavy for me. It was very difficult for me to wear it for more than 2-3 hours. At hour 3, I really wanted to take it off. But I totally agree with you that it was really serene. It was just a really nice feeling to be in there. And then when I took my headset off, I was like, oh no, the world is so dull.
Yeah. Back to reality. It's weird going back and forth. Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. What are our conclusions here? Is this the future, Marta? Do you think this is going to take off?
So I think it is going to take off, Dan. I predict that with the money being poured into this right now, with Facebook renaming themselves as Meta, I think a lot of effort is going to be put into this. Also, because we have this weird like hybrid event space right now where some people are joining from home, some people are attending events. I think this is going to be big. So I think this is something to watch out for. I think the equipment is still a barrier to entry. If companies figure out how to make this cost, I don't know, $40 maybe, $50, more people will be able to afford it. Right now, it's quite a hefty. It's hard to afford.
Yeah, you're into several $100s to get yourself equipped with a headset. So that's a barrier for sure.
Mm-hmm. But the feeling that I got from this was, do you remember like in the late 90s, early 2000s, the feeling of AOL and IM and chats where everyone is online and no one really knows how to navigate this yet. No one knows the etiquette. People are still mean to each other. I had that feeling. I went into this other social app called Venues, which is basically where people get together. This is you have to be logged into your Facebook account to go in, but you can get together with your friends. You can go do interesting experiences like 3D movies and other things. And there were a lot of strangers around me who were real people, but it was their avatars floating around, and people would come up to me and like talk to me, and I didn't know if I should talk to them. You could even like take a selfie with someone. It was very trippy, and I had that distinct feeling of, I think this is a beginning of something that's gonna take off.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this, Dan?
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. It's like we don't understand it yet, which is always like, if you do this now, you're definitely an early adopter, right? But there might be some benefit to being the early adopter in this space, because I do think that it's not going away and it's only going to get better. And if we can get the form factor of the headset smaller and smaller over time, and you can improve the quality of the apps and the integrations and the ease of getting in and out of the virtual space, I think this is something that has value. And I think there is some value there. It's it's maybe not worth the effort right now, but as those barriers continue to get smaller and smaller, it's something that I think people might tend to adopt in greater numbers. So I'm excited about it. I think we should do more meetings in VR together, Marta, and like I'd be willing to do it again. I had fun being in there with you. So I'm excited about where this goes.
Yeah, I'm also excited. This really is the Wild West of professional and social VR, and I think we should definitely do more to try to navigate that together and see if we could use it to our advantage. I'm really excited too, Dan.
Great. Well, I think that's a pretty good summary. I do see some comments. We got George Herbert in the chat. If this is the future, I am going to vomit a lot. I know George has talked before about how he gets motion sickness in VR. That is a barrier as well. There are some mitigating factors to that, though, as refresh rates in the screens increase. You get up over 90 hertz, 100 hertz, 160 hertz. I think that the frame rate plays a big part in that. So that might help, like as the motion tracking gets better. I have felt motion sickness in VR in the past, and I never felt it using this headset and using this applications. So if you have concerns about that, I would say give it a try and see what you think. Maybe it's not so bad.
I would agree with that. I also experienced some motion sickness with apps where the camera was moving and I couldn't control the movement of the camera. But for more static applications like sitting, it was totally fine. And I was actually really impressed with it because I also get nauseous pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as long as you're like kind of static and you're not moving, walking around in the VR space, the motion sickness is less of a factor. So actually being in a boardroom, having a meeting, sitting at a table together is a really good application. Like, yeah, I would consider doing it again. And I think it would be more fun the more people you get in there on a team to have that collaborative sort of social presence with one another that we are lacking so much these days. So yeah.
I see that George Burchill is asking what the frame rate is today. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about the live show. We're talking about
in the VR headset.
In the VR.
Yeah. So I think it's up around 90 hertz. My understanding is I know it's certainly like the default setting on the headset, I think is 72 hertz, but I think it can go up to 90, 120 hertz. So hard to tell exactly, but like while I was in there, I didn't feel like frame rate was an issue at all. It was very smooth, very fluid. The tracking was excellent. Like I have played games and stuff before, and I've used PlayStation VR. I think I've used some other VR headsets in the past, like the HTC Vive, and older iterations of the Oculus. And I have experienced the motion sickness, and believe me, I know what it's like. It's not pleasant. And it can stick with you after you take the headset off, which can, really ruin your experience. Didn't feel that whatsoever in this case. So I would say
just looking this up, Dan, and by default Quest 2 runs at 90 hertz. You're right, but there's a way to push 120 now, so you can force 120 in the latest update.
So there you go. All right, well, we've rambled for quite a while on this topic. I hope that us sharing our experience was enlightening to everyone watching. If you do want to keep up with all the things that we love doing these technology tests, we love talking about emerging trends. So if you want to get more of this kind of content, definitely subscribe right here to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. I think we're on Twitter. We're on LinkedIn. Check out our website, epiphan.com. And we go live every other week right here on right here on YouTube and Facebook. So follow along and we'll be happy to see you and chat again. Any final thoughts, Marta?
It was really fun to meet with you in VR, Dan. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was cool. All right. See y'all later and have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.